Hi, I'm Commissioner Rob Gelder. Welcome to this episode of Commissioner's Corners. Today we're going to be talking about all things nuts, so stay tuned and you'll learn a lot. So welcome again to Commissioner's Corners. Joining me today is Tammy and Clark Bowen of CB Nuts. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this program.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
So I think it's one of those things that we met a few years ago. I think it was probably about 4 years ago now. We hosted a White House Small Business Administration kind of summit, and you took part in that, and I thank you for doing that. At the same time, there's been a lot happening within the past 4 years, so I just thought it would be a great opportunity to share with our viewers in Kitsap County a little bit more about CB Nuts, your story, how it all got started, what are your plans, and where are you going from here. So that's our plan, and we'll kind of go from there.
Excellent.
So I think one of the things that our viewers might want to know is which came first, baseball or peanuts?
Baseball definitely came first, and then there's the seventh inning stretch, which is buy me some peanuts. So once that happened, then everything started to fall in line. But I was a fan, watched a lot of baseball over in Wenatchee, ate peanuts in the basement to escape this heat, which we're starting to understand what we go through in Eastern Washington a lot over here, and fell in love with peanuts. And the two have just been with me as I've grown into an adult, and now we have the business to thank for all of that.
So how did it get started? I mean, I know I've heard stories, but if you wouldn't mind sharing with our viewers.
Sure. So I was a season ticket holder down at Safeco Field. That was prior to when my wife and I had children, and you could escape for 81 games into baseball. And I was just tired of the peanut quality. And I'd had some really good peanuts out on the East Coast during a Mariners swing through Camden Yards. And I really wanted to replicate that selfishly, just for myself. I started to invest more into this hobby. I was in kind of sought and then was invited by the Seahawks to roast out on the streets of Occidental. So I opened up in 2002 out there right before the Mariner games. Ended up in the Mariner games by the second inning with fresh peanuts and beer money, and life was good. And that really was the beginning of it all.
So you were doing another job at that time that you started this hobby and this pursuit?
I was in a wonderful position. I had been running a business since I was 19, and at that point that was my first summer of really kind of relaxing. I had a couple employees running my other business, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of reflect on what I was doing and where I was going, and this was something I was extremely passionate about. I didn't know how passionate I was at the time when we started, but absolutely.
So this is obviously become very much a family business, really. So how do you figure out who does what? Tammy, you do sort of the business end of things, or what does a day in the life look like?
Well, we've been able to grow this business from just the idea, and so our roles and responsibilities have changed as the business has grown. And when we started, both of us were, even when our babies were young, I'd be around the stores, selling into customers, rotating stock on the shelves, and Clark would be up late into the night roasting peanuts. We have pictures of, our babies in the pack and play while we're bagging up peanuts. But as the business has grown, my roles have become more of the business management side of it, and Clark's more of the food safety and the production and some
procurement.
of the procurement.
So how did you decide when was the right time to sort of end the other business and go full time into this?
Well, Tammy, she really had the drive for the peanut business. I was still kind of approaching it as a hobby. I was spending more and more time and resources towards the hobby, and then the timing the Seahawks had called and said, hey, we want the peanuts for the Sweets at Quest, as it was known at that time. And that's when Tammy really started to step in and say, okay, this can be a model of a business we can go forward with. And so I think that was in 2002, and over the next 4 years, really developed kind of that model and proved the concept. I mean, people thought we were crazy to go start selling peanuts for a living, but Tammy really felt that, look, this is how we're going to do this. This is our model. This is how we achieve it. And in 2007, we really found the opportunity that it was time. It was time to really jump off that cliff together. And so we sold the other business, and here we are.
So we're sitting in sort of your original outside of your home kind of storefront and production facility, which looks a little bit different today given that we're in a dugout. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're sitting in here in terms of the old Kingdom dugout?
This is an original Kingdom dugout. Tammy, this was kind of a father's and birthday gift all wrapped into one. Really helped bring my story as a start full circle. We got it from an individual who purchased them from the Kingdom sale auction, and they were kind of rotting away, and I was able to convince him to split them up after Tammy had seen they'd come up for sale again. And then we went through and did a full frame-off restoration of a dugout. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. I mean, if you think, now I really want a visitor's dugout, because if you think of the Hall of Famers who sat in that one. But
it's good to have goals,
yes,
and something to look forward to. So tell us a little bit about the location that we're in now. So it started off, how did you find it, kind of moved into here, and production was here for a certain amount of time, but you've really kind of changed what this model looks like. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've always been pretty committed to running this business out of the North Kitsap. We live in Hansville, and Clark had commuted for years, so being outside of this immediate area was not really anything we even considered. We had been doing a lot of the production. We had tried to do some production down in downtown Seattle before games. We had tried to do some production at a friend's house, and then this space became available. So we'd been looking for a while to find a suitable location. Part of our process was really loud at that point, and so we needed to be in a place where we weren't going to be disturbing neighborhoods or other businesses. Sure. So it worked out really nicely for that. And it's evolved quite impressively. At first it was just a big open space. We put in this roasting room. Just everything's been improved on a pretty much a big open concrete space. So.
Well, I know it's even the sort of the retail side of things has changed from when I first came into a very small retail space in the corner, when this was really more devoted, I would imagine, to the production side. So can you tell us about sort of that evolution?
Well, in 2012, we were bursting at the seams here. We had to move something every day so we could get to work, whether it was pallets of jars or boxes or bags, and we were tripping all over ourselves. In 2012, the Food Safety Management Act was passed through, and so some of the way that our food production was accessible to the general public was no longer allowable. And since we had outgrown the space, it was time to find a new home. Because we live in this space, or because we own this building, and lived here.
Not far from the truth.
That's right.
We had to figure out a way to continue offering our products to the public and having a place where they could come see our process, in addition to making it a usable, successful space.
So you basically outgrew this space, and how difficult was it to find a location that was nearby in proximity and that would sort of meet your needs as you grew?
You know, we were fortunate that, I mean, it is what it is from an economic standpoint as far as the recession was concerned. But because of the recession, it left a lot of industrial space open up here in North Kitsap, specifically the Kennedy Business Park. It had been, was just about transitioned over from bank ownership. but the credit union, Kitsap Credit Union, had owned the park essentially. And so there was available space. We made some arrangements with Kitsap Credit Union, found a space that would meet our needs, and did short-term leases is really what the bank was willing to do, knowing that at some point they need to move it off their books. So we came to terms with them, and we started to move out.
And so what happens in that new space? Pretty much everything now?
Well, that was, so that space now, yes, everything, all of our production. We have a room here in retail which we roast our in-shell peanuts. In-shell peanuts grow in the ground, and so it's a dirty process roasting an in-shell peanut. They don't wash them, and so we're dealing with dust a lot, and so we were able to mitigate that dust by building a room up here. So this is a FDA sanctioned roasting room. So it's about the only production we do up here now for the larger part of our organization. And then down in our production facility is where we do all of our peanut butter grinding, the roasting, our pumpkin seed roasting, salting, all other elements of production.
And I think I read something recently in a newspaper article about sort of a relationship maybe with Whole Foods. And so I know, hearkening back to the 4 years ago when we had that SBA, their Small Business Administration, during that economic downturn, access to capital and to expand it, et cetera, was definitely an issue. So can you tell us a little bit about how that relationship came to be?
Yeah, Whole Foods is an amazing organization in that they try to support their young creative suppliers. They have a local producer loan program that is open to anybody that they work with, and it's better terms than usually small businesses can get from a bank. And because it's a loan from their organization, they in turn help with the marketing and sales and support in their stores. They have been great partners for us, and you know, the loan program is pretty straightforward. We have a bunch of peers across the country that are doing similar but different products, and we have a great network of people that we can go through some of the challenges of growing a food business together. So we can't say enough about it. It was one of this was actually the second loan that they gave us, and it really helps small business to achieve some goals.
Fantastic. Now, in terms of the location you have in the Kennedy Business Park, do you have room there to expand further? Are there other interests in the future, or are you sort of waiting to sort of see what that might hold for you?
Well, fortunately for Kitsap County, you know, we've seen an increase in commercial land value pretty quickly, and so we needed to just jump on something that we own. Primarily, as Tammy's alluded to, the food safety laws have become tenfold more expansive. Sophisticated. And so as far as, is there room? We're going to be tight. You know, we'll see. There's another building. There's a 20,000 square foot building there that's still for sale. Depending on who ends up buying that building, we may have an opportunity for some further lease space there. But as it is now, we have a little room in our building to grow. But depending on this growth cycle we're in now, we could outgrow it pretty quickly.
So what would you say is sort of the number one piece of advice that you would give someone who wanted to start off their business? If they, whether it's kind of food or some other business, that maybe they're doing something that was a hobby, that they're working out of their garage and they're looking to make that next step. Is there one learning that you've had over the years that would be something that you want to share with others?
I think that you have to have a model. You know, you've got to, an idea is one thing, and it's a fabulous thing to have an idea, but you've got to have a model. You've got to be able to put that model to people, to find some way to test it, give it some legs, you know, any way to where you can get even a little bit of traction. And if you find that you're getting a little bit of traction, then you've probably got a doable model. And I think that's probably the best advice I could give.
I would say that we really benefit also from having a retail spot where we can talk to customers directly. That's always been helpful. We do a lot of demos in the stores where you're getting real feedback from your end customer, and in an unbiased way. You're just getting what people want to tell you, and as long as you're taking that in and absorbing it and making the course corrections that you need to make,
That's great.
you have the benefit of that direct feedback.
So this has been very much a family business. So talk about your kids a little bit and how that's, how do they like peanuts? And really, how involved do they get at all? Or
Yeah, our kids are, I think, pretty proud of the fact that we do this and have a sort of high visibility role in the community. They eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches pretty much every day. And our son he won't even try other peanut butter. He's so dedicated to what we're doing. They're pretty cute about it. They come in, they work from time to time, they're pretty solid part of this organization.
The best day of my life was realizing there was no irony in that our kids were not allergic to peanuts, because that would have been bad.
that would have been a game changer, so to speak.
Yes, it would have been.
So, in reading a newspaper article recently, you sort of talked about this philosophy of sort of kind of going full circle. And I don't know sort of where you are with that thinking, but what does that mean? Sort of kind of assessing the business overall and kind of what your goals are for the future. Because I know sometimes when a family business gets up and running, it's sort of like, okay, well, it becomes a legacy for the next generation or the generation after that. So what is your thinking about sort of what you're building here and what that means for the future?
I think we probably both have answers to that, and we always are trying to find the middle ground there, or where we find commonality. I think for me, the full circle is we worked and we continue to work our tails off. But in the beginning, I mean, I would sleep up here because we could only take 3 or 4 hours off. I mean, we busted our tail, and the economy wasn't good, and we continued to grow through that period. So for me, full circle is just finally kind of getting back to a point of just mindful health and feeling confident in your business and the model, and finally being able to just breathe a little in the success that we have had. For me, that is full circle, to be able to go out back to the games with my boy now, and as us as a family, and enjoy the ball games, and kind of get back to some normalcy in life is to me a full circle kind of element that I'm very grateful for.
Alex, how about yourself?
Oh boy, I mean, there were so many sleepless nights early on in this business. We talked about trying to grow a business during the recession, but also with infants. And so, to, like Clark's referring to not feel like we're on the edge of a cliff all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's full circle, but.
Well, it is what it is for you in the moment. And I think the thing I take away from what you said is it's about balance. And I think that the one thing that most people, when they have a great idea, as you said, does it have traction? But knowing that you end up having to invest a lot of time and energy, and it could be all consuming. And what does that do to your personal and family life, and what comes first? It's one of those chicken and egg kind of conversations.
Absolutely.
That if you can get it to the point where you can achieve or re-achieve balance, that's probably pretty golden.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're lucky because we're raising our family at the same time. And so one of the earlier conversations was, it's all work, whether you're taking care of 2 kids or doing sales and bagging stuff. So how do we make this so everyone achieves some balance?
So one of the questions I have is really about distribution. I know that I see your products everywhere. But it's sort of, are you going to each individual store where they're available, or do you work with a larger distributor that then has a network to sort of push the product out further? I think that would be an interesting question for folks to understand.
Well, we do both. We have a person on staff that does direct distribution, and those are customers that we've either solicited ourselves or have come to us. And then we work with regional distributors, and then we work with national distributors. And so each has different customers. Some customers go straight to the distributor and learn about our products. Sometimes they come to us and we can direct them to a distributor that would best serve them.
How do you go about finding a distributor that you feel like you can work with? I would think that's a fairly unique relationship. In some ways that they're sort of, they're stewards of your brand in some way once you kind of let loose of that control. Did you, through a peer network, sort of find other distributors or just happenstance fall upon them?
When we first started doing this, we were actually, driving around to the stores and distributing ourselves. And then in some of the smaller local stores, they see our product there. So we were approached by a small regional distributor initially and said, I can help you out. You look like you got your hands full. And from there, as our business has progressed, we'll get a new customer that says, well, I'd like to work with you, but I only want to have Charlie's Produce bring it in. So then we go and meet with Charlie's and say, Hagen's ready to bring our product in, will you guys distribute to them?
Okay.
So it's, they're all relationships, they're all different, but it is, you need to demonstrate a demand from the store side before a distributor is going to pick you up.
I see. Given all the growth, and you talk about the different roles that people play, how many staff do you have? And what are the different kind of jobs that they perform?
I see our business as having 3 different business units. We have our office group, we have our production group, and then we have this retail group as well. And right now on payroll, we're about probably a couple fewer than 30 people right now, but right around 30 people. And then we have managers who are supervising each of these business units so that we can
Keep everything rolling.
Try to lead with some effectiveness. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Great. So one of the questions people might have, if they're really into peanuts and they love your product, are you hiring?
We hire about every 2 to 4 months. It depends. We always encourage people to send in a resume, and we definitely cull through them. Tammy will cull through some. Myself and our production manager Tom Holtz will go through, and if we see good candidates, we bring them in. We just hired a retired Coast Guard engineer. We're very excited to have him on the team, and it was one of those things where he had his resume for a while, couldn't quite see a fit, and then all of a sudden, boy, it makes sense, and so that's kind of how our hiring process works.
Is there any kind of, is this something that people might apprentice in if they're maybe interested in food production or that type, and they could come and learn a little while and then sort of take those learnings and move on to their own type of business? Do you see potentially a role for that type of transitional type of work?
Absolutely. I mean, that's been a core to our hiring for a long time, is that particularly in production, we see those as starter jobs. We get a lot of kids that are just graduated, first job, get them a little bit of experience and some job training. Some have demonstrated that they're interested in food safety, and so we'll continue their education down that line. Or we work with one of the tribal programs and hiring people in transition out of the tribe, so then they go back and work at the tribe and have job experience here outside, and then go back and either go on to other jobs or we had a great employee who's now running the youth program back up at the tribe, so it was his first job, and now he's back doing a great leadership role up there.
So it's one of those things that's kind of fun to think about, all the connections you make and sort of that rippling effect. You might be that one pebble in the pond, but you never know sort of the ramifications that you have in other people's lives and giving them a start. And
yeah.
Absolutely. We have a great track record of some good employees that have gone on to the Air Force, and some military families where they know they're only here 2 years. People they don't want to go work for maybe a general place where you may make minimum wage, where they can come get some unique training, add something to the resume, and really feel a part of something. It's pretty easy to come into a company our size and feel like you can be a part of it pretty quickly and contribute. So it's important to us as employers to continue to be a source of positivity in the community, absolutely.
Being that your business is located in unincorporated Kitsap County, I want to ask, how is it running a business in Kitsap County? What's that been like for you?
I think it's been great. We have no complaints.
The community is amazing. I mean, very supportive community.
I wish we were a little closer to Port Orchard, but there's nothing you can do about that, right?
No, geography is geography.
Right.
Exactly.
So getting down to Port Orchard when we need to, but we have a great support staff up here, just with North Kitsap Fire and Rescue, because we all have to work together in that regard. I have no complaints. I mean, I think we're right on Highway 104 here, and so we have some issues from time to time that we have to deal with the state that'll work in conjunction with the county. Sure. And all those things seem to roll really smoothly. So I think it's been fine. I think it's been a great process.
Well, wonderful. We know that we're very happy to have you here in Kitsap County and to be such a wonderful example of what's possible when I know that you've put in so many hours and time and dedication to making this a business that is what it is today, and who knows what the potential will be in the future. And so for our viewers who may not know where the retail location is, we are on the corner basically of Highway 104, where it takes that dogleg turn up to Port Gamble. So you can definitely find us here or at a store near you for sure. So Clark, Tammy, thank you so much for being part of this program. Wish you the best of luck in anything and everything that you want to do in the future, and I'm glad you're part of Kitsap County.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you. And if you want more information, we'll have the website and other information at the end of the program. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Commissioner's Corners, and we'll see you next time.